A lifelong resident of Fitchburg, Jim Shea's career at Oak Hill began as a caddy, here laying on the ground on the left in the front row. Jim was invited to become a member in 1938, where he became a perennial challenger for the club championship, eventually winning titles in 1953, 55, 66, and in 1968 at the age of 52.
Practiced relentlessly, had his own set of skills and his own set of limitations. He had a spinal deformity that he had to work around, and he employed his self-developed 10-finger grip that he used for his entire career.
He was probably the best all-around golfer I have seen here, especially from 100 yards and in, which is the wedge game. And Jim had the wedge game because he had a little bit of a physical disability that prevented him from hitting the long ball. More than not, he would wedge it up and make the putt. And the guy who hit the long ball would make, a different, higher score.
I remember him having a Wilson sand iron brown shafted wedge that he used continuously to the point that he had to retire it because the dimples on the face of that club he had worn off through practice. Searched for a replacement sand iron, but never found one that he loved as much.
Jim had the great fortune to play alongside and against the great Arthur Peterson for many of those years. Jim and Arthur used to race to the club after work for a quick 18 holes, and they often played a match in which the loser was the first to make a bogey on a hole. There were many times those matches had to go extra holes to determine a winner.
You could say they were great golfers and everything, but they were gentlemen, and I think that carried over into everything they did in golf. You could sit down and he would talk to you for ever and ever and a day about golf and things like that.
Jim was totally enveloped in Oak Hill, becoming the grounds chair in 1970. He was elected to the board of directors in 1971 and was elected president of the club in December 1973. Jim retired from the board in 1976, but continued to serve the club as the grounds chairman for many years. Not unusual to see Jim mowing a fairway or personally supervising a construction project, doing anything he could to help improve the club at a time when funds were in short supply.
Jim was a tremendous human being, great golfer, great member, and Jim was recognized all over the state for his accomplishments, so he was a great guy.
Jim spread his love of the game regionally. He served on the executive committee of the Massachusetts Golf Association and in leadership roles in the New England Senior Golfers Association. In 1997, in recognition of Jim's service to the game, the Massachusetts Golf Association named the trophy awarded to the Massachusetts Senior 4-ball champions the James D. Shea Memorial Trophy. Jim passed away on June 22, 1996, while playing the 5th hole at his beloved Oak Hill.
I was playing golf the day that Jim Shea passed away on the golf course. We didn't know it was him. I was on the backside, and we heard an ambulance coming up the road, which is never a good thing, especially when it pulls into the parking lot. And we're like, oh boy, that's not good. And we later found out it was Mr. Shea. So yeah.
Do you think he'd be the type, knowing him and how much, if he had to go, that this was?
Yeah, I guess, right? I mean, where do you want to go when it's your final day, doing something you love, a place that was probably he would call it his second home.
And I remember Jim O'Leary saying at his funeral that Jim died at 79 because he so disliked being in the 80s.
Jim Shea was survived by his wife Flora. Rising from caddy to club president, Jim's legacy of devotion to the game and to Oak Hill will always serve to inspire future generations of Oak Hill members, and he is now an Oak Hill Hall of Famer.